This is NFA Talk, the show that talks about guns and gun rights, keeping you up to date with what's currently going on, from the newest guns, promotions, and events, plus how we're lobbying for your rights.
All right, we're back with another episode. My name is Jordan Vandenhoff, and joining me tonight is Sheldon Clare, the president of Canada's National Firearms Association. Hey, Sheldon, how's it going?
Pretty well, Jordan. Great to be here again. I hope all is well with you out in the big old province of Ontario.
So yeah, it looks like Charles is running a little bit late, but he will be joining us in a few seconds. I guess we had kind of a busy week. Maybe we should dive right into it while Charles logs on and talk about the two debates. We had the French and we had the English debates going on.
Yeah, they're pretty interesting stuff. Guns weren't really a big feature of the debates. They were in French. They weren't so much at all. I think it came up once in the English debate that I noticed, and that was sort of Trudeau kind of grasping at a straw. He was busy gasping like a fish out of water, from what I could tell. So, he didn't really perform in that debate very well. But I think the thing we need to concentrate on as firearms owners is the stark reality that either Justin Trudeau or Erin O'Toole are going to be the Prime Minister of Canada after this election, one or the other. And any vote that is something other than for Erin O'Toole and his candidates across Canada is going to lead to Justin Trudeau maintaining at least a minority government. And the projections we've been looking at is, even though nationally Erin O'Toole is surging, and he's doing very, very well in across the country, he is still going to be very endangered by vote shifts in marginal ridings. So anybody who's a gun owner who thinks that they should vote for one of these smaller parties, who granted have great firearms policies, they're living in a fantasy world, because they are never going to do anything but cause a voting reality that will lead to Trudeau being the Prime Minister again. And quite frankly, the draft OICs of banning all semi-automatics, including 22s, banning all handguns, those are already written. So if you think that it's okay to keep Erin O'Toole out and support something else because you think that's somehow going to be better when it has no chance of forming government, well, you're making a huge mistake. It's going to cost all of us. Charlie, what was your assessment?
You know what, Sheldon, you're right on. And I can tell you that our efforts and the efforts of our members and the grassroots members out there who realize that this is a tipping point, who are putting their hand to this and being active in fighting for the Conservatives to get in, it is working. The Liberals are on the ropes. I don't know if anybody saw the last English debate, but you saw Justin Trudeau, who was uncharacteristically sort of off his mark, right? He was being attacked by, the NDP and the Green together. To me, that was signaling that the NDP and the Green see that Justin Trudeau's expiry date is probably past, and they are now courting Erin. So, and then we'll work with them, right? Of course, at a cost, right? But once again, this is no time to abandon our post. This is when we need you the most to stay on that line and stay committed and stay in your position, right? We are backing the CPC. A vote for the Maverick Party or the Green Party or any other party out there, there's many of them, right, is a wasted vote in terms of the firearms issue. If you do that, the Liberals may come in, or even the Conservatives may come in with a minority, which is also problematic. We don't want that either. We want a strong majority here so that the Conservatives can basically clean house, and restore our rights and our liberty and freedom. So just keep what you're doing. We're into the last 11 days. Stay the course, and continue to do what you're doing.
Well, I think it's interesting, some of the concepts that people have out there about how real politics works. because quite frankly, we're looking at a situation here where nuances and changes in attitudes in different regions of the country are going to have a huge effect. Now, if the NDP does well in Quebec, that's going to take away a lot of votes from Liberals. And that is an interesting concept. But I think it's a mistake for people to think that parties like the PPC, for example, are just taking conservative votes. I think they're getting a smattering of votes from people who haven't voted and everything else. So it's not probably accurate to say that that's a big concern about a vote split there. But the fact of the matter is, if you're a gun owner and you care about firearms as an issue, as we all do here, anything that stops Aaron O'Toole and the Conservative Party from forming government out of this election is a disaster for us, because even a minority Liberal government can bring in more orders in council and get them passed without going to Parliament and take away more of our rights and more of our guns. And that is exactly what they intend to do.
Absolutely. So yeah, if you're voting in protest, let's just think about the repercussions of it. Liberals get in, we're going to lose semi-automatics, we're probably going to lose the handguns. They have magazine capacity restrictions coming down the pipeline. It's not good. It's not going to be another good 4 years. Now there's reports that Justin Trudeau has said that he is going to be calling an election in another 18 months if he does not get a majority. If you crunch the numbers, no party is going to get a majority unless on the 20th everybody gets out of their house and has a change of heart. So we're looking at possibly getting a minority, either CPC or Liberals. Let's hope it's the Blues.
Well, it's interesting. I voted today, so I'm not swayable anymore. Don't phone me anymore. Don't bug me. I'm done. And the waiting line at the polling stations, and I went to 2 different ones just to see if it was a common practice, was huge. Now, part of it is because of the COVID practices. I noticed that they were light on poll clerks and elections officers. They obviously had a policy of keeping the staff numbers lower, but it seemed to me that the lineups were very, very long, and there were lots of people there, and they were very keen on voting. I regarded it as a heavy turnout for the first day of the advanced polls, and the election staff that I spoke with also felt that this was a very heavy turnout. So that has to say something. I don't know what it means. We'll find out on the 20th, maybe the 21st, because of all the mail-in ballots that are expected to come in, probably some 3 to 5 million, the estimates are. And it might take a little longer to find out who actually the government is, because of the counting of the ballot boxes on election day will be one thing, but the counting of all the absentee ballots is going to take a lot longer and will have a significant effect, especially because so many ridings are marginal. Now, as you may know, the NFA has been pulling out all the stops. We've been working really hard on this election. We budgeted something like $400,000 in pre and post writ spending. I just wanted to say hi to Blake Brown out there, and thank you very much for promoting everything we do. It's a big help to us. And we are spending this money because this is a serious issue for us. And we're not sitting here working with anybody else to try to figure out what the big secret plan is. This is all on us. So there's no collusion or any of that nonsense that I know the Liberals are trying to complain about us. That's all very interesting, but that's just their political gameplay, because we're doing attack ads, and our attack ads are working. We've got our billboards up that are electronic in key high value areas where we know that they are having an effect upon people. They're being seen, and they're highly visible. And we've also got our very highly directed social media campaign, which is really ramped up in the last couple of days. And we know that this is really irritating these guys.
Oh, yeah.
And it's driving them mad, because they look at us as the evil gun lobby. I mean, apparently we're getting billions of dollars, they say. Well, it's nonsense. We have a volunteer board of directors, and we're here because we care about this. We're not here because this is a retirement fund or any of this nonsense that they would have you believe. The well-funded gun grabbers, I can assure you, are doing much better off of anything to do with this crap than these people, than those of us who are here because we care. So the only choice for us, in order to keep our stuff in this next short-term of however the election transpires, is to make sure we don't end up with Trudeau being elected again. If that happens, we have a big problem.
Totally.
And we pulled out all the stops. This has been all hands on deck, roll up the sleeves, get the work done. And that's what's happening with your NFA team. We're here doing the work. And I really got to give a tip of the hat to Charles, Jordan, our cartoonist, Nathaniel, and everybody at the office and the rest of our directors all across Canada, and all of you field officers and regional coordinators who have been working so hard to make a difference this election, because it really, really matters. It's never been a more important election than this one. And again, everybody's got to get out and vote. Don't stay at home. If you stay at home, you're going to see a Trudeau government elected, and we cannot have that.
That's a great little segue into what I want to bring up next, right? We're into the last leg of the election. The Liberals seem to be losing in a lot of key ridings. I know around me, they won decisively in blue in Burlington and Oakville, North Burlington, Oakville and Milton. They are, my own riding now is a toss-up, right? The Liberals understand this, that they're in trouble, right? So what's going to happen, and in true Liberal fashion, is that the shenanigans are going to come out. The attack ads are going to come out. They're going to start making up things. They're going to start lying. Mark Garrettson's already done it with us, right? He's accused of colluding with the CPC. It's baseless, okay? But he's trying to create a divide and conquer situation where there's infighting and doubt within our own camp. That's the way we lose, right? If we lose heart and lose faith in our mission, right, and we separate like that, they'll just walk right in. This is right from the textbook of Art of War, right? So, and that's exactly what this is. This is a culture war. Don't fall for the trap. The Liberals will throw more stuff. Just wait till next week. It's going to get nasty, right? They'll be bringing out all kinds of stuff. Be prepared to repel everything, ignore everything, stay on mission, right? We are going to do this, and we're going to make history.
Our plan is working. Okay, we analyzed this. We've been ready for this for a long time. We've managed to get a professional marketing firm in to assist us with our program, and we've been working on this election for months to make sure that we were ready to go and that we were representing firearms owners as we needed to. So we developed our plan. We put our people in there, and we are doing this work. It's nonsense to think that anybody's telling us what to do. Go and ask the Conservative Party if they think that Sheldon Clare does what they say, and you'll find that isn't the case. It's a laugh to think that there would be any kind of collusion, as Garrettson has suggested. So I'm not worried about any of that nonsense myself. But I am concerned about people staying home, because I think that is where we lose. Is if you're mad at this, or you didn't like something that said this, or some interpretation in the media about some policy, and you want to stay home because of that, when they come to send that letter to you to tell you to turn in all your semi-autos and everything else, you can only look in the mirror and blame yourself if you didn't go out and vote. So you need to get there and do that. I voted. I know Jordan has. Charlie, did you get out and mark your ballot yet?
I voted last week.
Perfect. So 3 out of 3 of us have already exercised our franchise. You need to do that too. And I encourage you to get out there in the advance polls, which are on now, and make your vote count. Get out there and do it. It's too close to let it just lie and go along. We really need the numbers up. They are going to get out their vote. We need to get out ours. And I see Joe Estevez, he says 4 of us have voted. Thank you, Joe, one of our directors from Quebec.
Excellent.
So Charles, it's like you said that they're going to start slinging the mud, and there's going to be a lot of attack ads. But as we saw in the current debate, like the debates that just happened, the French and the English, guns really was not on the topic list. They touched very little on it. Trudeau took a couple shots, and nobody really takes to it. So really, this election is not about firearms. It's about the economy. It's about our health and moving forward and securing the future. So I'm really curious to see what they are going to start slinging at us. I mean, it's getting old. They tried the collusion, it didn't work. They said that Aaron was owned by the gun lobby. Clearly, he's not. So, I'm really curious to see what's going to happen in the next week.
Well, I'm going to tell you this, right? Is that they're not giving up on, the link between, or the so-called link between, NRA North and the CPC, which is non-existent. Okay, that's all they have. They have nothing else. This is a repeat of 2019. They're doubling down, and they thought they're really taking things for granted, and they're being pretty arrogant about this. They thought that this was going to be a slam dunk. Well, big surprise. Okay, but I'm already hearing from MPs out there who are engaging in debates out there. They're saying, I can tell you, like Karina Gould, she's raised this issue, saying that the conservative MP in her riding is wanted to be a gun lobbyist and all this other stuff. You know what? She didn't take the bait. She just kept on mission like we're doing, right? We're sticking to the issues that matter with the Canadians, with the Canadian population out there and the people in the constituency. And, in some places like Toronto and Vancouver and Edmonton and Montreal, that may be more of an issue in terms of guns, right? But generally across the board, even our internal polling is not showing that, the gun file is anything major, but the Liberals will try to make it such to create a wedge issue so that they can divide and conquer the conservative support and ultimately degrade the votes.
Well, certainly. Jordan, what you were going to say?
No, I was going to say, but the only problem is this wedge issue is not working, because I think a lot of Canadians are finally starting to realize that their plan of attack on this issue is way off target. They're going after the law-abiding gun owners, and they're leaving the criminals alone. They're hard on gun owners, soft on criminals. And Canada's really waking up to that, and that's why I don't think this wedge issue is really taking off, and that's why it's not really grabbing that much attention, right?
Well, no, it's not taking off. And I mean, it matters to us. Otherwise, we wouldn't exist. And it really matters to us. But in terms of the Canadian public, the issues that matter are, like you said, it's the economy, it's jobs, it's getting people back to work, it's dealing with the massive debt that's preventing the implementation of so many other government programs, because we don't pay down that debt, we don't deal with our interest on that debt and everything else. We're and nothing else is going to matter much when the economy collapses. We're going to see inflation. We're going to see interest rates go up. We're going to see all of these problems come with a re-elected Trudeau Liberal government. And look at the other thing. He's talking about putting tax on the sale of your house. Hey, if you've had a problem where your pension's been damaged in any respect, and all of a sudden you're relying on your equity in your property to be your retirement, and then suddenly you're going to have to pay a huge tax on that. Well, I'm sure you would really be thinking carefully before you cast your ballot for a Liberal.
For sure. In the meantime, though, even if you've cast your vote already, we have 11 days left, and this is so tight that we need all boots on the ground, right? And there's things you can do, right? Contact your local CPC candidate, drive in some signs, do some canvassing. It's all great work. The recency effect is a powerful thing. But so is the effect after the fact, right? So we're in the last, part of this election. Let's get everybody out there, even if you've never done it before. It's really fun, right? I was out the other day. It was hilarious. I was putting up these big 2x4 CPC, signs for my candidate. And, there's people honking their horns at me. I'm giving the thumbs up and everything else, right? And when I go to the doors, it's so interesting to talk to your neighbors, about what's on their mind. You get a real appreciation for, sort of the tempo and the pulse of the nation just in your own neighborhood. So get out there, do that work, promote, the CPC. Let's send this home, and I can tell you this, right? So I know some people are, they don't like this and that about the CPC. Okay, who doesn't have an issue about any issue, in the CPC, right? Including myself. Okay, but the problem here is that when they get in there, that's where our work begins.
That's right. That's why we have a lobbyist. And I mean, we have made sure to be very inclusive with the candidates for the leadership of the CPC. We've invited other parties to come and meet with us and so on. And when we're talking to these guys, they've been very, very clear about what they're going to do. Aaron O'Toole told us over a year ago that he wanted to do a full review, a comprehensive review of the Firearms Act and its regulations to see where they were and were not effective. We support that 100% because we know that the evidence supports what we are promoting. It clearly does. We've got excellent research materials out there from the likes of Dr. Kalen Langman, Dr. Gary Mauser, and others who have looked at these issues in depth, and they can show you that Canadian gun control laws simply do not have anything to do with reducing crime. It just doesn't have a relationship. So we know we can win this on a proper review process. So the idea of this somehow being a flip-flop or anything is ridiculous to me. It's not. This is what was said was going to happen all along. And the OIC will not survive such a review if it survives the court case that's underway and starting to fire up again.
Yep.
Yeah.
So true.
So maybe we should touch a little bit on that. There's a lot of people out there that were angry with this so-called flip-flop. They want their firearms back right away. You know what? You rebel. You vote for another party. You don't vote at all. There's no chance. You vote for the CPC. We go into a review. You might not get them back the next day after the election, but I truly believe Aaron will actually go through with the review. He'll look at everything evidence-based, and you'll see your guns will start to be able to be taken out of the safe and taken back to the range again.
I just want to say something to that, Jordan, is that there's a lot of people out there who are, the willy-nillys out there that are getting nervous, right? Because of the so-called flip-flop. Before I became the lobbyist for, the NFA and, even when I was a director, I mean, that politicians are of a certain ilk, right? Some are more respectable than others. Most are not, right? It's been confirmed and verified to me personally when I talk to these people, especially the likes of Bill Blair. Okay, he's a dishonest politician who has no business representing anybody or in place of any kind of leadership position out there. He called politics theater. He's acting. He's not acting on your behalf. These are not the kind of governors that we want. Okay, so bottom line is that their lies and their deceit and all the subterfuge and the scripted canned responses from Trudeau, it's all coming home now. People have had enough, and I'm talking about the Liberals, the Progressives. They can't defend this bad record anymore. And my message now is out to those progressive voters out there. Do you really want to be responsible for bringing in another bad government? This will be on you. Trudeau will laugh at you. He'll use that. He'll take your votes. He'll go in there and he'll continue to do what he wants to do, despite what you want to do. But do you really want to be responsible for the disaster like his father, ushered in, many decades ago? And this is basically the same agenda. You want that to happen again for you and your kids. I mean, we're still paying for Pierre Elliott Trudeau's, reckless financial, policies way back when. We're going to do the same.
Yeah, that's very, very true, Charles. So, we're sounding like broken records in some respect, but I've got to say, yeah, if you're going to get out and vote, there's only two choices for party that are going to form government. It's either Trudeau or Aaron O'Toole. And I'll tell you, if you're going to keep your guns, you'd better not have Trudeau in there. And any vote that you take that is not designed to defeat the Liberal in that riding is going to help the Liberals get elected. And we simply can't have it. That's reality. That's realpolitik.
So I want to post up here one of the comments that came in from Mr. Guns 2000 with the hashtag Trudeau must go across his truck window going down the QEW. So he's got to be from my area because he was talking about the St. Catharines riding. I'm just outside in the Niagara Center riding, and I've got the same hashtag sticker on my truck, and I do travel down to QEW, so I know where you're at. I get a lot of people honking, a lot of trucks honking, a lot of thumbs up. And it's great to see, and it really keeps me motivated because I really think that we're going to come out ahead this time. It's already early polls. I don't want to, I don't want to jinx this, but it's I'm feeling the energy.
Well, I've seen some bumper stickers on the back of trucks that I like too. I had one for a while, but at work it was getting a little bit questionable whether I could get away with it. And it had an F and then a maple leaf, and then it had the way fire truck ends, and it said Trudeau after that. So
yeah, I got that one too.
Yeah, and it's a pretty blunt sticker. And I mean, I had it on there for a while, and I was getting people clapping, driving by, and cheering. I didn't have anybody give me a dirty look. Oh, it's actually I did have one person who gave me a dirty look, and they were very clearly not a gun person. I could just by, you could tell they just weren't a gun person. They kind of glared at me, and I think it was probably someone who might have been a liberal. So anyhow, there are some of those out there, and you just have to be careful with them. They mental illness is to be taken seriously as liberalism is a mental illness, and we've got to deal with that as we move forward.
I also had a bumper sticker on I still have it on there. It's an FU Trudeau thing, maybe a little bit not politically correct. I'm sorry about that. I make no apologies, but it's very popular. I'll stop at an intersection and people are honking their horns. Just today, somebody rolled up beside me and said, "Hey, I like your bumper sticker." I'm going, I hope Trudeau loves it too, because, it's meant for him. So, now in terms of, the liberal voters out there, we have, there are brothers and sisters as well too, right? And they've been duped, by this liberal government to believe that gun control is crime control. Clearly it is not. They brought in stricter gun controls with C-71, banning guns and all kinds of different things. And urban gunplay is on the rise on the Liberals' watch. They cannot deny this. This came up in the debate, and Trudeau's just, he had the deer in the headlights look. He has no response. He's not worried about public safety, right? He wants you to drink the Kool-Aid and understand, or at least accept what he's saying to you so that he can get back into power. This has got nothing to do about, stopping gangbangers from shooting at birthday parties in Toronto. It's going on. You know what? He is responsible for a lot of carnage that's going on there because he's not doing his job. He's not keeping it safe. Our government is supposed to be, that's their prime responsibility, is to protect the government from these outlaws. And he's just not doing that. You know what? He has breached the public trust, and he needs to be thrown to the curb.
Yeah, the fun thing is with all of this is that there's a lot of talk about attack ads, and are attack ads good and attack ads bad and all that. Well, the research that I've seen says attack ads work. And I mean, the parties are sort of in this, they don't want to do attack ads and everything, but I certainly do. And I know attack ads work, and I know our attack ads are working. And they're working because they're mad about our attacks on them. We've been very, very direct. We've been very, very clear. And we've not just been focusing on firearms, because we know that there are other things that resonate with Canadians. And one of them is the fact that we're even in an election at all, right? Here we apparently have this great pandemic going on where people are susceptible and can be exposed in close quarters and all the rest of this. And it's pretty clear that the only reason we're in an election is because Trudeau II wants to have a majority government. And he figured he had enough points built up and cachet and money handed out all over the place that he could parlay this into a victory. Well, it's pretty clear that he may have miscalculated. That he's and again, we can't predict what's going to happen on the election, but God, we all got to get out and vote. And if we don't get out and vote, we're going to be responsible for what happens.
That's a great point, Sheldon. And I'm hearing from the Liberal camp, and I'm talking about former MPs and candidates, right, who haven't been in government yet, but the ones that have been in government are very worried because if they lose now, they lose their pension, right?
Yes, and they should.
And we save a bunch of money. God knows we have to now because Trudeau's basically robbed the government treasury. But they are very disappointed in this election. I mean, the people within the Liberal ranks, and that's one of the first things that I've heard they're saying is that, why would he do this? And why would he call it now? We got the pandemic like we're going on right now. We got wildfires out there. And Afghanistan's falling apart. right? Trudeau left thousands of our allies to sitting ducks in the airport. We will never see them again, right? He's got no plans. He keeps saying that, oh, we're doing this and that and everything. He's doing nothing again. He says one thing, he never executes. He's left those people to their fate, right?
Well, there's a lot of private people who are banding together to help rescue. I know of some organizations that are working on that, and I've tried to do a little bit of putting people in connection to make some changes there myself, because it's not okay for Canada to cut and run. And what we've seen with this Liberal government is a government that not only cuts and runs, but it leaves its friends laying in the dirt, face down in the dirt, and that is not okay. If there's nothing else about this government that hasn't got you angry, that should. That really should. I mean, we are in a world that is rapidly changing. We're seeing all kinds of things happening in control and power and authority and statist behavior that should be making us all very uncomfortable. And it's happening on Mr. Trudeau's watch. And that's got to stop. And when we have a change, we can work with a change. But we cannot work with this fool that has blundered his way into being the Prime Minister of Canada for the last few years.
Trudeau always says that he understands the problem and that they have our backs, right? But the problem is that they understand the problem too late and then fail to execute completely, right? Going back to Afghanistan, I mean, Biden told us back in March that he's withdrawing the troops. And in the debate, Trudeau says that they only started ramping up, the rescue of Canadian allies and military in July, right? So what was he doing in the meantime, right? So once again, and this is a policy situation that he continues to do on all the files, right? He's Johnny-come-lately and never executes, and then he makes a bunch of excuses or says, I'm sorry, I'm just an incompetent fool, please forgive me. Well, you know what? That's not acceptable for a prime minister. I'm very sorry. You know what? I'll get that from a 14-year-old, which he may well be mentally, but we don't need that from our prime minister. We need some real leadership, somebody who is mature and somebody who can run this country, like an adult. Okay, let's get rid of this child.
Well, the ironic thing for me, Charles, is he tries to make himself look a lot younger than he is. And he was actually, I believe, the oldest person on that stage. He's actually older than Aaron O'Toole. And what I saw when I saw the debates last night was I saw a fish out of water with Mr. Trudeau. He was under attack constantly. He was gasping for air all the time in his answers. Their answers were clearly forced. He was making up stuff and constantly defending himself from the effective attacks of not just Mr. O'Toole, but I think I've got to give Mr. Singh some significant credit there as well, because he was very good at holding him to task. And I even saw agreement from the NDP with some of the conservative positions a couple of times, which I was a bit surprised at. But the thing that I took away from that debate is Aaron O'Toole looked like a prime minister in waiting.
Totally.
That's what he looked like.
Very professional that night.
Yep. He was there in his dark suit, very clean cut. He looked like someone that you can say, I'm glad that we've got a good steady hand on the helm, rather than this flake that is going around talking about issues that really don't resonate with most Canadians and have nothing to do with anything but the personal gratification of Trudeau and his Liberal accolades.
And that's spot on, right? And like you said about leadership, I mean, leadership starts at the top. So if you have a PM pretending to be an adolescent, right, all his MPs and wannabes pretend to be the same. And if you look at some of the campaigns out there, and I'm talking about like Pam Damoff and the rest of them out there, they're all dressing down to be, they look pre-adolescent. You know what? We don't want children running our country. Okay, they're not qualified. As much as Pam Damoff may be a child and unqualified, you don't have to dress up to be like that. We get it. Okay, but we need like I said, we need competent adults to run this country in a reasonable, righteous fashion so that we can get back on track. And these children are not going to do it.
And you need people that actually have experience and qualifications that are related to the types of ministerial positions they have, rather than hiring former activists who have been arrested to be things like the heritage minister. I mean,
Yeah.
this is outrageous.
Totally.
What
Yep.
other country in the world would tolerate this nonsense?
Yes.
None. And we shouldn't either.
Or kayakers. What, is that
Hey,
now?
there's nothing wrong with kayakers.
No, I have nothing. I have nothing against kayakers, but is that a qualification to become a representative of a constituency? In Milton, that is the case.
Not by itself.
Adam got in there. He was a great Olympic kayaker, but what has he done? Right? Absolutely.
I see
unqualified for the job.
Talking about Obama versus Trump as who was more professional. I think that's a highly debatable point about which one appeared more professional.
Yes.
But I in the perception on that debate, when you looked across that stage, I saw one person who stood out as prime ministerial material. And I think I've been pretty clear about who that was.
Yep. Well, I make no bones about who I support. I'm sticking with the CPC. I voted as such. I make no bones about it. I implore everybody to do the same thing. Only that way we're going to take our country back and get our private property back. I don't know about you, but I miss my AR-15.
Well,
I think we all do.
You know what? We are going to hold these guys accountable. If you think that the conservatives are going to get in there and they're going to be beholden to the gun lobby, that's not the case. The only thing this gun lobby is going to have to do is work very, very hard to make sure they understand the reality of what Canadian firearms law is about and what it's doing and what needs to change in it. They're going to have to understand that. And there's a lot of them that do. We've done some good work over the last 10 years in educating conservatives about what needs to be done. And when they get into government, and I mean, the only government that rolled back gun control and got rid of that stupid long gun registration system was the government of Harper. Harper's name came up a lot with Mr. Trudeau. He's still trying to blame Harper for everything that he hasn't been able to do.
6 years later, he's still blaming him.
Right, Jordan? I mean,
6 years later, and he's still blaming him.
Yeah, and nobody even remembers who Harper was anymore. So I mean, this government needs to be defeated, and it needs to be defeated resoundingly, and we can do that if we get out there and vote.
That's true. And you know what? And the second part of this is that the people that do support the progressive agenda, and that's your right as well too, but please take a look at this gaggle of people that are representing that ideology on your behalf, right? They've proven to be unethical, corrupt, lying, right? Is that the kind of person you want to put back in power on your behalf, right? They will be a reflection of your vote. So when they get in, and there'll be more debacles, there'll be more corruption, everything else. I don't blame Trudeau. I will be blaming, and the people that voted for him should take full responsibility for putting somebody like that in power. So I implore those people out there to reconsider their vote. You don't have to become a conservative or anybody else, right? Just stay home, have a nice chilled beer, and watch Trudeau go down to defeat. It's time. It's time. Okay. So let him go. The Liberal Party will rebuild, hopefully, with somebody who's more ethical and more righteous, and somebody who represents, the good people out there that are of the progressive, side, and that's okay, right? But this particular gaggle of people, they are, I just don't know what to say. I don't even know how they're not in jail yet. It's just beyond me, and it's really because it's
unconscionable that there haven't been charges filed against for some of these activities. It's unconscionable, and I mean, we as an organization are following all of the Elections Canada rules in our elections campaign. We have an auditor who scrupulously looks at everything we do and is auditing our materials, and all of our materials will be published with Elections Canada, just like they were in the last election, that anyone can go and see online and scrutinize to see how much money we spent on what. And until the last nickel spent in the campaign, that's, we'll be working to make sure that we get something out of this election. And the way we get something out of this election is a sound, resounding defeat of the Liberals.
We have truth on our side. And yes. But I can tell you, and I told listeners out there, and the viewers, that we are a we live by values and principles that are righteous, right? We try to be honest. We don't, Twitter hasn't been, condemning our videos for being manipulated, right? Because we put up videos that have truth in them. They may be very embarrassing for the liberals, but it's the truth, right? You need to be able to absorb that and say, you know what, the NFA is telling us something here. I just need to have ears to listen. Please listen, okay? And vote accordingly, or just don't vote. And I'm talking about the liberals out there. Stay home. You don't want to vote for these people, right? They don't deserve your loyalty or your vote, right? Maybe next time we'll see who comes up. Somebody will come up, somebody who's more righteous, because they'll realize that the lying and the cheating and the corruption and the subterfuge is not going to resonate with the liberal voters anymore. It's only resonating now because you allowed it. Don't allow it anymore.
Yeah. Just say no to Trudeau.
Say no to Trudeau. So I think we've had a pretty good conversation going on. I think we should pretty much cut it here tonight.
Sounds good,
Right?
guys.
And we'll try to come back later on in the week, see if the polls change a little bit. We have some more information, and I'm sure they're going to try to sling some mud at us again. We can talk about. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. You know what?
Right.
We're like the swine in the pig pen. They want to throw mud. They want to wrestle with us. We're all getting dirty, and we're going to like it.
I like it.
All right. Until next time. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you.
All the best. Thank you. Take care, guys.
Thanks for listening to this episode of NFA Talk. Like and follow the NFA on social media and sign up to become a member.